Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of All at Once. I'm your host, Alexis Christine. If you're new here, welcome to the podcast. Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. If you are a returning listener, welcome back. So excited to have you here. Today, we're talking a little bit about quantum jumping, which is something that's been very big for me on my platforms over the years. It's what got me my first batch of followers on TikTok. It's something that I've done a lot of talks and videos about, but I still feel like people have a lot of questions because there's so much information out there that people get confused with what actually works, what doesn't work, what the different methods are, why their quantum jump isn't working. So if you're currently feeling stuck in your reality or struggling to manifest, or if you're doing different affirmations and manifestations and things aren't coming through as quickly as you were hoping or as you thought they were going to, this is going to be a really good episode for you because I'm going to get into the nitty-gritty of why these things happen, why sometimes your quantum jumps aren't working, and then also how to fix it. So to start, I want to remind you that your thoughts create your reality, right? So everything that we see in the external world is a representation of what our internal beliefs are, what our internal thoughts are, the internal world we create for ourselves. And so a lot of times when you're thinking of something or you're really scared something's going to happen and then it happens, that's because you believed it so deeply that it would happen. You've manifested that into your reality. And at the same time, every possible reality exists at once. So everything that you're wanting, that you're dreaming of, that you're really trying to call in, or that you see as some super far-fetched long-term goal, there is a universe where you already have that thing. That's why it's your soul calling to want that. That's why it's dropping into your consciousness to want to work towards it or to have that as a goal. Because in one of these other universes, you already do have it. So the key with quantum jumping and essentially any sort of manifestation is you really need to believe that it's possible for you to be able to shift into that reality where you do have it. Because if you don't believe that it's possible, then it's not going to happen. And that's why with my clients and even in my own practices, we do a lot of shadow work. We do a lot of inner child healing. We rewire the mind so deeply because every single little subconscious thought, belief pattern, toxic programming, whatever it is, all of those can be blocking your manifestations from coming through because there's probably different belief systems that you don't even realize are there that are blocking your manifestations or your quantum jump. So if you're trying to quantum jump into a reality where you're super rich and you have a lot of money, but you have this thought deep inside that you have to work hard for money or money doesn't come easily or people with a lot of money are inherently bad, then it's going to stop you from being able to jump into that reality. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, is that kind of connecting in the way that I'm hoping it does? Another way to word it is like your subconscious mind basically controls all of our thoughts, feelings, actions, etc. So if your subconscious is believing that something's not possible, even if consciously you really, really want it, your subconscious will prevent you from getting it with little doubts and little planted seeds here and there of it's never going to happen. The other thing with why the quantum jump might not be working is you can't quantum jump into another reality if you're feeling really negatively about where you're currently at. Showing gratitude for where you currently are is going to be key because we cannot use quantum jumping as a way to escape a situation, right? We use it as a way to manifest into higher timelines and to achieve certain goals and things, but we always need to be showing that gratitude of thank you for everything I already have. I'm ready for the next thing instead of I hate what I have, I want to shift. What even is quantum jumping? Let's get into it. It is a mental technique that you can use to shift into a parallel timeline. And this is where we kind of get a little bit woo-woo, but actually this is backed by science, and I'll have the names of some of the different scientific researchers you can look up after to get like more of the nitty-gritty details of how this actually is possible. But if you think about a TV channel or a radio station, all of those channels are existing right now at once at the same time, right? And as you change the station to pick a different song or you're flipping through the channels to pick something you want to watch, you are tuned in to that one channel. But that doesn't mean that all of the other ones just disappear, that they don't exist anymore. And it's the same with timelines. There are infinite amount of timelines, okay? Every single decision that we make branches off a new timeline. If you guys are Marvel fans, think of Doctor Strange, how he can see through all the different timelines. Like that's an actual thing. And when we make a decision and it branches off into another timeline, like just think about how many different universes there are, how many different decisions that we've made all throughout the day. Like even this morning, my decision to wear this jacket versus not wear this jacket, bam, 2 timelines, right? Going to a concert versus not going to a concert, calling someone versus not calling someone. Like it literally branches off into so many different timelines. And all quantum jumping is changing your frequency, changing your vibration to shift into that timeline that has the things you're trying to achieve. So if you're trying to get a new job, you can quantum jump into the timeline where you've gotten that dream job that you're applying for. Because in one of these realities, it is already yours. It's just shifting your frequency and adjusting to the channel that has those things. And if you guys want to look into like the quantum physics of this, you can look into the observer effect, which is essentially saying that by observing our reality, we're creating it. So how do we actually quantum jump? What are the steps? There are so many ways to do this, and I have personal favorites that work best for me. But what's really important about any sort of thing you do when quantum jumping is that it feels good for you, right? So there's so many different ways to do it that if you're doing it one specific way and it doesn't feel natural, it doesn't feel aligned, like you don't actually enjoy doing it, then don't do that method. Pick one that feels really good, because something that's very important with quantum jumping is you need to believe that it's going to work. Like I said before with our subconscious thoughts, if you have this thought in the back of your mind that this is all bullshit and it's never going to work or it's not going to happen, then it's not going to work. So you need to have full belief, and you need to be able to be so deep into it and really connect on an emotional level with what you're trying to call in during the quantum jump. Because another really big thing is the biggest way that we can align our frequency to what it is we want is through the emotions. Thinking it and visualizing it is one thing, but when you actually tap in to feel the emotions, you're tapping into that frequency of already having the thing. And that's what pulls you there so much faster. So as I go through the different ways to quantum jump, A, try them all. Great. Try every single one, see what you like. But B, listen to the ones that might feel a little bit more aligned for you and start there. Don't feel like just because one of the ways is the way that I do it for myself and I do it with most of my clients is going to be the right way, because we're all different. So the first one I'm going to talk about is quantum jumping through meditation. It is my absolute favorite one. It's the one that I have used so many times. It's the one that I use with most of my clients, and it actually is very similar to the neural reprogramming techniques that I take my clients through when we're working through the limiting beliefs, when we're clearing the trauma, when we're doing the shadow work, the inner child work, because it's so powerful. Getting into your subconscious mind and rewiring on that level, it allows you to really get deep and really tap into those emotions and have all of the things come up that might be there on a subconscious level that you didn't even know were there. So that's why it's just like chef's kiss. I love it. So with this meditation, you are going to feel and visualize your desired outcome. So before you go into any of these techniques, you should really get clear on what it is you want. If that means taking some time to journal on the life that you want to jump into or whatever it is, because sometimes, and I like for me, this is specifically for the meditation technique. If I go into a quantum jump meditation and I'm trying to follow all of the prompts and visualize and whatever, and I have no idea what it is that I want, I'm not going to know what to visualize. And some random crap might come through my brain that I'm like, wait, what even is that? And then I start questioning it, and you can't really get into the visualization, right? Like you're not fully in it. You're not fully immersed, or you might be spending time thinking of, oh, wait, what is it that I actually want? And when you should be in the visualization, really like in it, you spend that time thinking of what it is you want. So very important, specifically with the meditation one, to get clear on what it is you're wanting to jump into first before you do the meditation. In the meditation, you are going to engage all 5 senses. What can you see? What can you hear? What can you touch? What can you smell? What can you taste? I know it's a meditation, but you want to really feel like you are immersed in this. And having all five senses connected is what's really going to allow your brain to feel like you are there, because your brain cannot determine between what is real and what is fake. That's why if you were to sit here right now and think about someone you loved so deeply dying, you would probably start crying, because your brain is now thinking that that's what happened and it's having an emotional reaction. Okay. So you want to do the same thing in this meditation. You want to feel so deep into it. You want to really feel like it is real, engage all those five senses, and get that emotional reaction from within. Okay. Once you've done that, you've done your visualization, you've done the five senses, you're in, you are going to hold on to that. You are going to live out that day with whatever it is that you're desiring. You are going to live out in that timeline as if it is you. Every single detail, to down to the things of what you're eating, who you're texting, what does your day look like? Literally live it out. Personally, when I do my own personal quantum jumps, or I'm recording them for clients, or I'm recording them through like my YouTube or whatever else, I can put some of the quantum jump links below. I also do a technique where I visualize my current self stepping into the new avatar, the version of me that's in this new timeline. And I do a specific process with light language and with the violet flame where I'm sealing the two bodies together, and then I go and live out that day. So if you guys want to tie that into it, feel free to listen to the one on my YouTube channel. I also do some light language and some other things to make sure that everything that's blocking me from reaching that timeline is cleared. And then basically you're just going to live out that day, and you're going to hold on to that feeling of gratitude for as long as you can. And then when the meditation's over, you come back. Sometimes the changes happen right away. Sometimes the changes take some time. It's not a big deal if you do this quantum jump meditation and the next day you wake up and everything's kind of the same. I'll go through some of the shifts and the changes you'll see later. But basically, that is like the meditation technique with quantum jumping. And for me, I've had like the most profound results with it. The next one I want to talk about is the water technique, or the shower technique. So essentially with this one, you are going to go in your shower, okay? I personally would do something beforehand or even in the shower to get you into a nice calm state of mind, into a little bit of theta brainwave state. So whether that's like 5 or 10 minutes of meditation before you get into the shower, or whether that's a couple minutes of really intentional breathing, like 5 seconds in, 5 seconds out, really focusing on the air coming in and out of your body while you're in the shower before you do this, just anything to kind of get into the state where you can access the subconscious mind. And then as the water is running down over you, you are going to imagine this layer of yourself, this old version that you no longer want to be in, washing away and unveiling that new version of you that you're trying to step into. So again, this is like a visualization, but water is a cleanser, right? Water cleanses. So it's washing away energetically this old version of yourself that you no longer want to be attached to. And this new version is going to be appearing. And then essentially as you exit the shower, you are that new version. You have shifted into that new timeline. So as this new version of you is coming through, you really want to tap into, who is this person? What are they like? What are their thoughts? What are their actions? How do they spend their time? How do they spend their day? How do they feel? And similar to with the meditation, you want to really get to the nitty gritty of like, what is going on? What is this life that I'm tapping into? Who is this person? And again, try and get to those 5 senses. It'll be a little bit different because you're not in a deep meditation. You're in the shower. You can still say like, how does this version of myself feel? What does she do throughout her day? And the last way I want to talk about to quantum jump is smaller. Okay. It's like little mini micro jumps. And these are ones that you can do literally throughout the day. And every time you do this, you will be shifting into a new timeline. You will be shifting into a new version of you. And most of you probably already do this without even realizing. But it's looking at your patterns, your habits, all of the things that you no longer want to do, you're trying to shift out of. So I'll give an example after so that you guys can kind of like see it in perspective. But every time you make the choice not to do that thing, that is shifting you into a different timeline. You are becoming another version of yourself. So these are very little micro jumps, right? But just say, for example, Every time I feel sad, I want to order pizza or I binge eat or whatever it is, because that is something that I've experienced in the past. If I know that that's a habit and a pattern and an emotional coping mechanism that I'm trying to break, I want to move away from that. I want to start treating my body better. I want to start learning how to regulate my emotions and calm my nervous system in a way that doesn't require me to eat all of this kind of poison food. The days that I feel that way and I think to myself, no, I deserve to eat nutrients instead. I deserve to go do some breath work. I deserve to journal. I deserve to do literally anything except poison my body with this food and suppress my emotions. That is the decision that jumps me into a different version of myself. That is the decision that shifts me into a new timeline, because the old version of Alexis would have done those things. The new version, the version that I'm trying to jump into, the version of myself that I want to be the best, highest version, doesn't do those things. And so making that decision in that moment, that micro decision, shifts you into a new version of yourself. Okay, so let's go over some things that will block your quantum jumps. Like I said before, your belief system is everything when it comes to this. If there is any little piece of doubt in your mind, it is not going to happen, okay? Your subconscious rules everything. It rules over 90% of your brain, of your waking life, of your sleeping life, everything. So if you have any sort of doubt at all, any sort of skepticism, any sort of, well, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'll try anyway, or any sort of, this will never work for me, like this always works for other people, or the life that you're trying to jump into, like, I just can't imagine myself ever getting to that place. I can't imagine myself ever losing the weight. I can't imagine myself ever working at this massive company. I can't imagine myself ever making more than 6 figures. Those are all thoughts that are going to stop the quantum jump from working. You are not going to be able to reach that desired reality because on a subconscious level, you don't believe that it's possible. And these are the moments where you need to go into the shadow work. You need to go into the inner child healing. You need to look at the limiting beliefs you have, where they came from, and move through them, rewire them through the neural reprogramming. Okay. I will upload some of these to my YouTube at some point so you guys can just dive in and do them. But these are the moments where you need to clear those subconscious blocks and change your belief systems and actually start feeling confident in yourself and worthy of all of the things that you're trying to call in so that you can reach the desired timeline of actually having those things. Some of the other ways that your quantum jump will be blocked is if you're very impatient around it, you have this energy of needing it and trying to chase it and force it to come in a certain time period or in a certain speed. The more you're checking up on it, the longer it's going to take, the more you're energetically pushing that away. Think about when you want something from someone else and you're constantly poking them to be like, hey, do you have it yet? Do you have it yet? Can you tell me this thing? Like, blah, blah, blah. It just aggravates them. Or when someone does that to you, it just makes you annoyed, right? Like you don't want to do that thing or give it to them or whatever it is. It makes you want to do it less. So they keep that energy with when you're doing a quantum jump or a manifestation. The more that you don't trust that the universe is going to bring it to you or that you're going to be able to go into that timeline and you're constantly double checking, it's going to take longer because you're telling the universe that you don't trust it to give you the things that you deserve or that you've asked for or whatever it is. And it's going to take even longer. The other thing is actually trying to control how the manifestations come in or how that new timeline looks. Because remember, we are here on Earth. We're in this 3D world. There is so much that we don't know. And we might be trying to quantum jump into a timeline where we are in this amazing job. And then you're going to try and control, like, okay, this is this very specific job I want. When in reality, you going into that job could actually unleash a very not friendly timeline for you. Maybe you get super burnt out. Maybe you're overworked. Maybe the boss actually sucks. Like any of the things. And the universe doesn't give you that job, but then it gives you another job that's 10 times better. That still ends up being your dream job. If you had been controlling the situation and not letting it go, you would have never gotten that second job that is actually the dream job. So the more that we try to control how these manifestations come to us or how this new timeline looks, the harder and longer it's going to be for the timeline we're jumping into to actually materialize in front of us. So I want to talk a little bit about how our brain actually plays a role in this. And like I mentioned before, it's very similar to the neural reprogramming that I do, like kind of rewiring that mind. Because as we grow up, we have certain memories and thought patterns and reactions that are imprinted into our brain. Our brain's job is to try and keep us safe. So if we learn that it's not safe to use our voice because maybe one time we used it and people laughed at us or people didn't agree with our opinion or whatever it was, there's going to be a neural pathway now created in our brain from the action of using our voice to the result of it being unsafe. And with neural reprogramming and with repeated quantum jumps, you're training your brain to believe that actually this thing is safe. Okay. So with neural reprogramming, you would pull up the memory of where you first learned it wasn't safe to use your voice. You would reprogram that memory into one that actually does feel safe. And with repeated meditations and going through that over and over again, you're going to create a new neural pathway where your brain actually believes, oh, it is safe to use my voice. And the neural pathway that says that it isn't safe will slowly disintegrate because it's not being used. This is scientific. This is not me pulling shit out of my ass. This is actual science. And so it's the same thing with quantum jumping. You don't want to be doing it every single night, right? Like you need to give yourself some time to adjust. But with repeated meditations or quantum jumping methods, you will slowly start to retrain your brain to believe that what you are quantum jumping into is actually a reality that exists, is real for you, is a possibility for your timeline. Because again, with the subconscious beliefs, if you don't believe it's going to happen, then it won't. So if you're rewiring the neural pathways and the neurons in your brain to believe that it is, that's going to be one way to work through the blocks. This will also train your subconscious to recognize opportunities that are in line with the timeline that you're jumping into. Because again, we only really see what we focus on. Our brain, our internal dialogue, our thoughts create our reality. So if we don't believe that something's possible for us, we are going to ignore all of the opportunities that come our way that might actually be able to bring us to that thing. It's like the thing where if you're looking for a red car, you will see them everywhere. And then someone will say, well, how many black cars did you see? And you have no recollection of seeing any black cars because you were so focused on the red car. Our brain works that way with everything. So if we're so focused on something that can't happen for us, we are not going to be able to see all the ways that it can, right? And so we need to make sure that we're training our brain to see these opportunities and to see these things as possible. So I'm going to go over a little bit of mistakes that sometimes people will make, which also prevent their quantum jump from coming through. I've talked about this a little bit before, but the emotional aspect of it. Emotions are so key in matching the frequency of ourselves to what it is we're trying to call in. So really making sure that whatever quantum jumping method you're using, you're really connecting on an emotional level. Inconsistency is another one. So sometimes one quantum jump can be enough if you've done a really good job of being so in the moment, so present in that experience and really tuning into all of the five senses, all of the emotions. And it was a really powerful experience. But a lot of the time, that's not how it is for most people. So doing multiple quantum jumps, having a little bit of consistency with that, not every day, because again, you need time to integrate, but maybe every like 3 or 4 days is going to be really useful. Stop focusing on the how things are going to happen. Focusing on the how can also prevent the quantum jump from solidifying because you're trying to control too much. Like I said before, trying to control how whatever it is comes to you. So allowing yourself to trust the universe and just be in a flow state and allowing the opportunities to come to you is going to make the quantum jump shift and those results come so much faster. And then not letting go of your old identity. I've talked about this, I think, actually in my last episode. We get so attached to this identity that we create for ourselves that a lot of times we block our own blessings from coming forward because we're so scared to let go of that piece of ourselves that we've become so attached to. So remember, when you're doing quantum jumping, okay, you need to make room for this new timeline to come in. So let go of all the things that are not serving you. And if things start to fall away that you weren't expecting, again, don't try and control how things happen. Let it go, let it happen, and trust that it's happening for a reason because whatever's coming in this new timeline will be 10 times better for you. So I want to go over some real experiences that I have had both myself and with my clients through quantum jumping just to kind of give you guys a little bit of an expander, allow you to see that this actually does work, okay? So if you're having a little bit of doubts, a little bit of whatever in your brain, maybe saying that like, oh, this won't work for me, trust that it does. So I'm going to go over my client ones first. So I had one client who did one of my custom neural reprogramming and then quantum jumping meditations. And one of the goals that she had been working towards, she had written a book and she really wanted to get it published, and she was trying to find a publisher, all these things. So we did the neural reprogramming and the quantum jumping for about 2 weeks. I think she ended up doing it like 5 or 6 times in that span of 2 weeks. And after like the 2-week period, she woke up to an email from a publisher wanting to buy her book in bulk to use for a course at a school. So not only did she get a book deal, but she got like a guaranteed amount of sales. And now there's literal students studying out of her book that she wrote. So that's example number 1. Example number 2, one of my other clients, again, we did the same thing. We did a shadow work session where we did some neural reprogramming, and then we did quantum jumping. And he didn't really have a specific goal per se that he wanted to reach, but he knew that he wanted to go into a new field for what he was doing with work. And he didn't really know what it was going to look like, how it was going to happen. He just knew that he wanted to shift. He knew he wanted to be in one specific area of like, I was going to say niche. Niche is so the wrong word. Industry, in one specific industry, and was just kind of open. And after he actually only did it once, after he did the one quantum jump thing, he had a message come through of someone inviting him to come on a free, all expenses paid training in Italy for something within that industry that he had been wanting to manifest a job in. So those are 2 different client experiences, pretty different. One had to do it 5, 6 times. The other person just did it once, but they both woke up and had these amazing opportunities come into their lap. Again, different from what they might have thought it would have been. Like one, she just wanted a publishing deal and she got also like course textbooks out of it. And the other one had no idea. He just knew he wanted to be in one industry, and then this free training came to him. So again, not controlling the outcome, just being open and allowing that manifestation to come through. I have had some crazy quantum jump experiences, and I'm going to go over some of the small things that I have seen, because a lot of times when we do quantum jumping, the major shifts don't happen right away, but you'll notice little tiny things about your realities that have changed. And so they're so random, but like one day I did a quantum jump before I went to bed, and I woke up and my hair was like 3 inches longer, which for me was very exciting because I've been trying to grow my hair for years to be a certain length. And so I woke up and I was like, oh my God, like this is insane. My hair is so long. I was so amped. Another one is randomly like the light switches will change height. So I'm only 5'3". I'm pretty short. And I feel like when I have door handles or like a shower head or light switches, I always really notice the height of them because I'm so short, you know? So like sometimes they're like up here and sometimes they're down here. Like it makes a big difference. And there was one quantum jump I did where I woke up and the light switches were so much higher. They were like almost at eye level. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? Like, why are these so high? I was so confused. And then another time I quantum jumped and the colors of my shoe changed. So I had these shoes that were white and gray. And you know how shoes kind of have that loop at the back on the heel to help you like pull them on? They were gray also. And when I woke up the next day from this quantum jump, that loop was black. And I remember I was so disgusted. I was like, okay, great, I've quantum jumped. Like, thank you for the sign. But I would never have bought these shoes if that one thing was black, because the whole shoe is white and a very light gray. Like, it just looked so not great. That was something that I really noticed right away because it was so ugly to me. And then another one was I had been living in this area of London, and when I was in my London era, I was waking up every single day, putting on a podcast, going on a walk, right? So I was gone for about an hour every morning. And because of the area I was living in, I would take the same route every day for like the first 10 minutes before I could split off into like all my different routes and, you know, pick and choose. I had to like get out of one section of the city. And I had been walking this every single day for about 8 months at this point. And all of a sudden, in the middle of the sidewalk, there was like a built-in fountain that had like a water path on the ground, indented into the pavement that led to the end of the sidewalk to like go down the sewer for when the water fountain, I guess, overflowed, or I don't know what exactly it was for. And it was old, and like it was made out of stone, but you know when stone is old and it kind of rusts and all those things, like that thing looked like it had been there for at least a century. And I was mind blown. Mind blown. I could not believe this thing just appeared. Okay. That was like one of the biggest mini changes I have ever seen. And then some of the big changes for me was, again, with work. It was the beginning of 2020. I'd been applying for jobs in London since before I had moved there, and I hadn't really gotten anything. And I had done a quantum jumping meditation. And then I ended up getting 2 job offers. And I was like, oh my God. And thankfully I chose the one that I wouldn't have gotten made redundant from. Beautiful. But I remember thinking like, holy crap, I went from months of nothing to now 2, and I get to choose between them. It was magical. And then also other quantum jumping things where I did a quantum jump, and then things just like, my timeline shifts are really dramatic because of just the lifestyle that I lead. But one of the timeline shifts was I was going to move to Bali, and I had come home from London. I was here for Christmas in a couple months, and I was originally going to move to Bali. Did a quantum jump meditation. And then all of a sudden I have Bianca reaching out to me saying, I'm hosting a conscious creators retreat for TikTokers in Costa Rica, and I want you to come. And I was like, oh my God. And so timeline shifted, ended up going to Costa Rica and having my whole Costa Rica experience, meeting some amazing friends, some soul family, all those things. And like my whole timeline of what I thought was going to happen completely shifted. And then by the time I did end up going to Bali recently, I was actually there with one of the friends that I ended up making while living in Costa Rica. So just the way that everything shifts, like sometimes when I'm feeling a little bit bored in a timeline, I'll just do a quantum jump and see what opportunities come my way. And that was one of them. Like I was at home, I was kind of feeling like, and I was excited to go to Bali, but I was also kind of like, I have a wedding in March that I have to go to. So do I miss the wedding, or do I not go to Bali? Do I do something else? Like I didn't really know what to do. And I did a quantum jump, and then bam, Costa Rica fell on my lap, which worked perfectly because it was way easier to get to the wedding from Costa Rica. And it just like, it's quantum jumping is just one of the most magical things. And I love it so much. So remember, if you are quantum jumping and you're going through this experience, get your beliefs right. Know exactly what it is that you want when you're going into the manifestation. So I know I just said that sometimes I do it when I'm kind of like, When I do those, I know the feeling that I want to jump into. So I don't necessarily know how it's going to look, or I'm not trying to quantum jump into a specific thing, but I'm focusing on how I want to feel in that timeline. So I'm still having an idea of what I want. So just always make sure you're clear on some level. Remember that it's not always going to be an instant change, okay? You might wake up with a little bit of different facial features, or your weight slightly different, or maybe some people, like their personalities have tweaked a little, or like, there's like really, really little things that can happen. It's not always going to be this huge dramatic shift, but trust that it is happening and that the shifts are coming, the changes are coming. You are going into your desired timeline. And then if you guys want the scientists to research, I will put them in the description box. I will probably butcher some of these names, but they are Zlatko Minev, Niels Bohr, Erwin Schrödinger, and then Albert Einstein. I hope you guys enjoyed today's episode. If you have any other questions of things that I haven't covered, or you want just something a little bit more specific, please feel free to DM me at iam.alexischristine. And if you guys enjoyed the show, please give us a rating, subscribe to us, share us with a friend. I just want to be able to help as many people as possible on this awakening journey. And the more that you guys interact, the more people will see it. So I truly do appreciate it from the bottom of my heart, all the support that you guys give me. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will talk to you guys soon.